My name is Rennie Taylor, and I am an artist, filmmaker, photographer, and collagist. I started making films in 2015, just after I turned 18. I never had any formal film schooling, and I only became interested in the thought of making films after seeing my dad's Braun Nitso Super 8 camera, which he bought from the local junk store. I was also subconsciously influenced by the alternative filmmaking scene in Toronto, where I grew up. As a kid, I would often follow my dad on errands to these film organizations and screenings. Often these screenings took place at Cinecycle, which is a bicycle repair shop and screening space which is still run by Martin Heath. It would be remiss not to mention John Porter, Super 8 film legend, whose films I watched as a young kid. My early films were formal explorations in Super 8, in time-lapse, hand processing, and painting on film. From 2018 onwards, my films became more complex, and films such as Spinning from 2019, Graphene 2021, and Dissolution are examples of this. I think you learn from every film you make. I can see themes explored in past projects influencing current work. The Blizzard is kind of a documentary. It is a documentary in the sense that it documents a specific event, time, and place. However, it does not feel, look, or sound how many of us expect a documentary film to be. There is no talking head, narrative, or resolution. It is just a time capsule. I was inspired by 1940s newsreels and the distortion of truth in them. This theme I explored in a photo book project I did a couple years ago. You can see this photo book on my website. I took 16mm newsreel footage and decayed the physical emulsion to draw attention to authenticity within documentary footage. This prior project, in combination with NFB films on winter storms, influenced the conceptual aspect of this film. Oh, too many filmmakers to name. How about I just list some filmmakers who are influencing me right now? The enigmatic Harry Smith, Ali Peoples, who I was excited to meet in Montreal recently, and Barbara Sternberg. Let's just keep it there. All of my films are self-funded with small, workable budgets. I don't hire crews, and the money goes to production costs, almost always film-related. With a good budget, I would have greater latitude to make more ambitious works in length, production, and distribution. My ideal project would be a semi-long film that incorporates stop motion, Super 8, folk music, film decay techniques, and multiple projectors. Since I wear all the hats, I have to be very self-directed in my work. I try not to overcomplicate my projects so I can make multiple films in a year. In the case of The Blizzard, I worked with a musical collaborator, someone who I worked with before on Graphene, which is a different process. I created the film and then allowed free rein with the sound. Sometimes that takes longer, but I'm always very accommodating. Most of my films are the byproduct of creative sparks. I make the historical, social, and artistic connections afterwards, but usually the making of is a spontaneous action. What is important is that I have the resources to go out and shoot with no impediment. In this case, I had a working camera, high contrast black and white film, and a willingness to go out in a blizzard. There was no crew or budget. I think my sound designer, Daniel Brlas, had a more difficult time with the soundtrack, but only he can speak to that aspect. What is important is that I have a strong idea for a film. What I find beneficial in working with analog are the technical parameters. I should say here that most of my work is shot in either Super 8 or 16mm. Film is expensive, so if you are an independent, self-funded personal filmmaker, you have to be concise, embrace in-camera editing, and be confident in your decisions. Mistakes happen, of course, but that's part of the risk. And that particular element can help in creating some really phenomenal work. Also, I'm not a purist. I do all of my stop motion animation with a digital camera, and I have created a couple of video collages. For future work, I have a number of ideas for Super 8 time lapses, all different, which I would like to explore this year. Also, sound has become a more important consideration in my recent projects, as all of my early work were silent. Finally, I have become more interested in creating longer works. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see, but I'm excited for the future. Thanks for listening.